top of the world, about to jump above it. Take it straight to the moon, 'cause we know how to rock it. Ain't no thing you can do, ain't no way to stop it. Now you feeling it too, let's get it started. Throw your hands in the air while the beat is dropping. Acting like you don't care when everybody's watching. Just keep whipping your hair like that, you got it. Yeah, you're feeling it too, let's get it started. I'm ready, ready. Let's get it, get it. I'm ready, ready. Are you ready, ready? Let's get it started. Charts off the meter, turn it up, blow the speakers, make them more to believers. Break through the surface, tell them open the curtains, give them all what they wanted, yeah. Now let's get started. Let's get it, get it. I'm ready, ready. Are you ready, ready? I'm ready. Let's get it started. Yeah, I'm ready, ready. Let's get it, get it. I'm ready, ready. Let's go. Are you ready, ready? Let's get it started. Let's get it started. Let's get it, get it. Let's get it started. Let's get it started. Give me something new. Time to break loose. Take it to another level. Now we on the move. Shout if you coming with me. Going over the limit. On your mark, keep it steady. So tell me, are you ready? I'm ready, ready. Let's get it, get it. I'm ready, ready. Are you ready, ready? Let's get it started.
Live from virtual Daytona, Florida, we welcome race fans one and all to round number 5 of the North American Sim Racing Association. And for what is going to be a rather different race than what we have been used to seeing so far throughout this current NASRA season. Hello, one and all, and welcome to LSRTV. My name is Nola Rempo with John Mustang Jr. beside me in the commentary booth, and Cody Booton down behind the cameras for tonight's race. So, John, we swing back to Daytona, and what a different race this is set to be, right? Of course, after last week's race did get canceled due to a lack of attendance, the series organizers decided to switch things up a little bit, and they have done a complete overhaul and converted this race into a super speedway series, which of course means we are no longer in the next-gen cars, we're in the Gander Outdoor trucks. And that means we're going to be racing exclusively at super speedways from here on out, which sees us back at Daytona for what should be a very entertaining opening to what could be a very different look on this series going forward.
Yes, and you know what? It's not hard to understand the reason for the change. The next gen car right now is in a very fluctuating kind of state of existence in iRacing. We know that there's going to be a new horsepower / aerodynamic package are going to be released soon. The one we have right now, just let's be honest, Nolan, it sucks at plate track racing. It's just really there's no passing available. So, and that's not anybody's fault. It's just the design that we've got to work with right now. So, like you said, the administrators came up with a new idea here, and right now we got 26, 27 cars on track. So obviously there is some appeal for these guys to race plate tracks and the trucks. Hey, man, it's the trucks, you know? I mean, who doesn't love watching these bad boys haul some mail around Daytona International Speedway?
And who doesn't love driving them either, right? Of course, such a massive turnout in comparison to last week's race. And, of course, these trucks are, of course, they're known for being one of the most popular cars that you can find out there on the iRacing servers and when it comes to the oval racing scene. So the fact you have so many drivers showing up now is definitely no surprise to any of us. 80 laps is what we're getting set for here tonight. It'll be about 200 miles that we're set to race for into the evening from the Daytona International Speedway and the World Center of Racing, and it should be a fun race indeed with qualifying coming up in just a few moments' time. You can take a look at the weather conditions down on the bottom right. 70 degrees Fahrenheit in the air, and that is 72 degrees Fahrenheit down on the track. Wind speeds, though, blowing out to the northeast by about 7 miles an hour, about 50% of humidity in the air, so slight bit of crosswinds for these drivers to deal with tonight, John.
Yeah, the wind is going to slow them down in some parts of the track, but then as they transition around, it's going to become a tailwind for them. You'll see a little bit of speed of increase, but not too much. The fun part about these trucks, to me, Nolan, is how well they suck up in the draft. And unless you're just really heavily damaged, you can actually drive a damaged truck to the lead on this track, believe it or not. I've done it, missing my back end. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it was great while somebody was behind me, but then when I lost that somebody, back to the back I went. But we'll see. This is going to be a great race. I'm really looking forward. And what a beautiful sunset. It's kind of romantic. Can you hold my hand?
well, we have to still keep some things in mind. We'll maybe get to that stage a little bit further down the road. But it is, I think, worth noting that you mentioned how these trucks just suck up so well in the draft. It's not like the next-gen cars, right, where you can lose the draft if you're out by about 0.5 of a second. You can be as far as 7, maybe 0.8, even by yourself, and still manage to slowly pull in the field. And, of course, unlike in the next-gen cars, we need to have a train really bigger than the one you're trying to overtake in order to try to make a run around the outside line. You only really need 3 or 4 trucks to link up together to be able to start to make moves from that outside line, which will make passing definitely something that is far more common over the course of the night than we're used to seeing. And I feel like that is something that we both are going to love to see, John, because it means the potential for a photo finish is so much greater. It also means, though, that the possibility of calamity is bigger as well. When it comes to plate tracks like these, especially in the trucks, it tends to be a case of when will the big one happen, not so much as if it will happen. And I have to say, how long do you think these guys are going to be able to keep it together before we really see everything start to kick off as the competitive spirit of racing drivers everywhere starts to kick in?
The positive side of me says maybe 10, 15 laps. The I've been here enough to know better side of me says about 5.
I think that sounds about right. Though that being said, a lot of drivers do sometimes tend to take these races a bit more conservative in the early run, which is what you like to see, right? You'll take it easy for the first 40 laps or so of this race. You don't need to push it too hard. Maybe when it gets to 20 to go, that's when we can start going 3 wide. But I will dare to say we will not be seeing 4 wide here tonight, at least not without some incident being involved, because there really isn't any room for that here at Daytona, is there?
No, it's much narrower than, say, Talladega would be. Talladega, it's not what's the word I'm looking? I'm so sorry. It's not unknown to see 3 or 4 or sometimes even 5 wide because of the tribal. But here at Daytona, it's a lot narrower, and you've got great room for 2. You can press 3 if you've got 3 guys that know what they're doing. But 4 is out of the question. That usually leads to calamity. And we've got qualifying underway here, Nolan. My least favorite part of a race.
You're currently watching Hunter Parsons, the first driver out on track for the time being, back straightaway for the first time. This is, of course, on the outlap. And right before these guys start to link up their hot laps, just want to quickly point out as well that the North American Sim Racing Association is brought to you by both the Buddy Project and Butt Kicker. Feel what you have been missing. So both of those organizations, proud sponsors, of course, of NASRA. And it is thanks to them that they managed to keep the lights on here and managed to give us this great performance, no doubt, that we're getting set to see here tonight. So Parsons will be the first driver to start a qualifying lap, and lap times, I think we can expect them to be roughly within the 49, maybe the 50, maybe 49 to 52 second range. I think that sounds about accurate. Now, common strategy at super speedways can often be, John, run the top line throughout the entirety of the first lap and then use that to build up speed, use the low line throughout the second. But I have been noticing since those next-gen cars have been released, more and more drivers have been opting only to take the low line around for just the one qualifying lap, but then not even attempt the second one. And I do know why this is, right? Some guys will put a lot of grill tape on the cars, which means they'll be able to hit higher speeds, higher revs, but that also means the engines overheat really quickly, even in clean air like this, to the point where they'll blow up shortly after completing a first lap.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Now, I'm not really familiar with the administrative side of this league, do they use fixed setups or open setups here?
I believe they do use open setups, so that would allow for these drivers to be able to obviously modify some of the cars as they would please. And as qualifying times start to tick in, so far it is Ted Wade to be headed up the boards. The driver you're watching now sitting P2, about half a tenth of a second back, I should say. Tory Thompson third, Zimmerman fourth. You got other guys like Blanchard and Bartlett running fifth and sixth for the time being, but Ted Wade still leads the way in the qualifying boards for now. You wonder if anybody will be able to potentially topple him, though, as more and more times start to come down.
Yeah, you know, now that you say that, the setups are open setups, I'm seeing it kind of makes sense the way some of these guys are running their qualifying runs. But the thing is, even with an open setup where you can build your own setup and really kind of wrap it around the way you drive. Where was I going? I'm sorry, I got distracted by a text message. Yeah, go ahead, Nolan. I'm sorry, man.
Victor Bartlett going to be putting himself P2 on the boards for the time being. Ted Wade was not able to improve, but is still your provisional pole sitter with a 52.092. Watching Ian Martin currently running that top side in his number 98 Toyota Tundra, coming out of turn number 4 this time by. This will be for completion lap number 1, taking the top line, just like I was mentioning earlier, John, and now going to dive it down to the low side. 52.615, but of course, that first lap was a throwaway lap, so the fact that it's half a second down doesn't matter so much for Martin. He will be able to put in a much faster time, and since he was so far the only driver to use that top line for his opening qualifying lap, I dare say he is the best chance at the moment to be toppling Ted Wade from the top of the timing boards.
Absolutely, you're right. And my thought came back to me. It found its way home. What I was alluding to there, Nolan, is the fact that even with the open setups, the fact you can take this truck off as much as you want, you're still not going to see higher speeds like you would, say, in a draft, right? Because even though they're using less tape in the race so they don't overheat and blow up, they still have 4, 5, 6 guys with them in a line that generates a higher speed. So these are actually what I would expect to see right in the 51.9 to 0.1 here for our friend Ian Martin. And that's about normal for these trucks. They don't fly around this track like, say, your Cup cars do. A little bit less horsepower, and they got that big, humongous nose. They cut a huge hole in the air with.
And Ian Martin, despite his...
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, Ian Martin, despite best efforts, only 6th fastest. That's going to be 7th, though, as Austin Trombley put himself on the front row. Cody Knott with a 52.189 is just put down his own time here in the number 26 machine. You can see starting to pull that car off to the inside as well. And as a matter of fact, that qualifying lap didn't even count. So that tells me that Cody Knott had a bit of a scrape with the wall somewhere, which might have impacted that lap. That is unfortunate for Knott. I know, so he's going to be finding himself well and truly down the order. But more interestingly enough, so far only 12 of the 28 drivers have set time so far. Now, it's not uncommon to see a few guys than usual, kind of bailing out on qualifying. They want to start near the back, play it safe, right? You got guys like Derek Kilgore that are only thinking about trying to get up in front, though, and they still have 4 minutes to do so.
All right, so we have some qualification on tonight's race. Nolan, it is a fixed setup race. They've got 3 tires, 100% fuel, 80 total laps, 1 fast repair. Now, that's going to make things interesting. The reason I say that is you'll have some guys whose mentality is, I've got a fast repair, therefore I'm going to race as aggressive as I can, and that way if something goes wrong, I can still get my truck fixed. And then you have other guys that go, even though I do have a fast repair, I don't want to have to use it until I absolutely have to. So I'm going to hang out in the back, maybe be a little less aggressive for the first half of this race. So that's going to me, that adds just a little bit more of an atmosphere of guesswork, if you get my drift.
Of course, that one fast repair, it can be invaluable with a super speedway series like this, right? I mean, because it is so easy to find yourself being caught up in somebody else's mess that you almost need to have that one fast repair. As Derek Kilgore, on his first flying lap, setting a 52.170, good enough for 7th fastest for the time being. But going back to my point from earlier, that fast repair can be absolutely invaluable for a lot of drivers in the field who are at a bigger risk of being caught up in other people's best, particularly those, I'd imagine, right in the midfield where you can't really go anywhere because if you can't go forward because you got people in front of you who can't go backwards, though, because you got people right up your bumper as well. So for those guys, I'm pretty sure they are very grateful at the moment that they are going to be having that one fast repair to help them with throughout the course of the night as Raul Meza starts his first of 2 laps.
You're absolutely right. And see, I mean, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. You've always got really kind of 2 different mindsets here. You got those guys who are super competitive and want to be up there racing for the lead every lap. And then you got me and guys like me who understand this is an 80-lap race and I want to be there at the end. So what I usually do is either A, I won't qualify, or B, if I do qualify, as soon as I get a chance to, I drop down to the inside under the yellow line, let everybody go by me, and just play it safe for 75 laps. Then when it's time to go, it's time to go. That way, if there's a wreck up front, hopefully I'll miss it.
Coming around through 3 and 4, Meza trying to set his first of 2 laps for the time being. Coming around the line now, still has time to set one more. 52.218 from Meza. That is 13th place on the board. So the number 37 Chevrolet Silverado still has a lot of time to be gained, though. It is still just over 1/10 of a second up to your race leader. I think it is worth noting that 1st to 11th, all separated by just 1/10 of a second, qualifying, as always, at a super speedway. Oh, so tight at a track like Daytona. You reckon Meza can put together a lap that might be just a bit faster to put himself into the top 10?
It remains to be seen. With fixed setup racing, it's all about the driver's ability to get the vehicle around the track without too much input on his steering wheel. Every little bit of input is going to shave off just that much speed and make the lap that much longer. So it's really about just how he's got a handle on that steering wheel, how much input he's using, and he comes out with a slower lap that time, Nolan.
By 4/10, so it was a 52.6 compared to 52.2 he had logged earlier, so not a good time for Meza. He'll be stuck 13th for the time being. Looking back to J.R. Miller in his number 78, very chrome Valvoline Chevrolet Silverado, currently running first lap, and he will only have time for this one lap, so he has got to make it count. So far, just over half of your grid has set qualifying time so far. Will J.R. Miller actually make it around to start finish? This is going to be a bit close. Only 10 seconds left on the clock coming around. I think you'll have just enough time to set it in. 5 seconds now. Does make it across the line with just 1 second to spare.
Wow.
And it's 4th fastest, 52.145. Wow. Top 2 rows. Still is not the top row, though. So Ted Wade and Austin Trumbley were starting up there on the pole. So with that and qualifying complete, I want to take a rundown for your starting grid here for round number 5 of the North American Sim Racing Association. It's Ted Wade and Austin Trumbley starting up there on pole position. Victor Bartlett and J.R. Miller will be running up in row number 2 in the number 25 and the number 78. Rounding out your top 5 is one Adam Newbert with Derek Kilgore beside him on row number 3 in 6th place. Hunter Parsons is 7th in the 05 with Christopher Blanchard down in 8th. Ian Martin and Eric Zimmerman, John, round out your top 10.
And row number 6, 47 car of James Morris to his outside, Tory Thompson in that 21 car. Row 7 sees Darren Halliman come in with that 9 car to his outside, Raul Meza, that bright green 37 Chevrolet. Row 8, Taylor Peacock in the 81 to his outside, Zachary Hartwig in the 88. Row 9 sees Nick Sacco in the 29 car and Rhett Tucker to his outside, the 99. Row 10 sees Andrew McGronick on the 09. To his outside, Chris Cinnamon Nolan in that free truck.
And that will put Justin Lumpkin down in 21st place. Nathan Roge is going to be 22nd in the number 91 Silverado. It's Michael McKinnon in 23rd place. Brandon Bullock is down in 24th. How about Stephen Gregory in 25th place for the time being, with Steve Tucker down in 26th. Running out your 28 car field is going to be Jeffrey Sickles and Cody Knott on the back row of this grid on row number 14. Only 16 drivers set qualifying laps out of the 28. So it'll be those 16 drivers starting up towards the front of this thing. And they might be in a bit of a better chance to be able to potentially go for a race win at the end of tonight's 80-lap event.
Yeah, but again, in order to place first you got to play. No, that's not it. You know what I'm trying to say. In order to finish first you must finish. That's what I was trying to say. And yeah, it's going to be all about just staying out of the mess, man. And that's always been my way of doing these track races. And I said this earlier. I just don't like to be. I don't like to be up front for the first half of these races, because that's where all the mess starts.
And as the pace car starts to take this field of 28 strong around this racetrack, we talked about, of course, how this field could shake up. And it is worth noting that not every driver managed to take to the grid. I know of at least 2 drivers that are going to be starting this race from pit road. Those guys are the likes of Derek Kilgore, who surprisingly enough qualified up in 6th place, along with James Morris back in 11th. So 2 drivers that didn't make qualifying times opted to start this race further down in the back end of the order. Now, I know that some drivers prefer to just start at the tail end, but very rarely do you see drivers at super speedways starting from the pits, because usually that means you're going to be going a lap down because you're not going to have the draft of the main pack. So what do you think the thought process is behind that one? Or do you think they just might have missed the starting call?
I think they just might have missed the starting call, because nobody in their right mind that I know, that I've been doing this for a long time, on a super speedway starts from the pits. There's no guarantee there's going to be a caution. Yes, most of the time, Nolan, we do see cautions on super speed races, but there's no guarantee. I've been a few that went completely caution-free at Talladega and Daytona. So, yeah, that's a big risk. I don't think I would have. I don't think I would have done that. I know that the guy that's starting in 6th, his reasoning is he didn't know if he's going to be able to get down and get out of the way, right? But that guy in 11th, I don't know. That might have been a mistake, man. But then again, it's Daytona. Who knows?
Coming around through turns 3 and 4, and as the pace car pulls down into pit road, that'll leave it in the hands of one Ted Wade to lead them to the green. The up-front motorsports driver is going to take this field of 28 strong to the green flag as we say, let's go racing from the World Center of Racing at Daytona. Here at Daytona, it is Ted Wade still out in front. The outside line, though, already trying to gather some momentum. J.R. Miller jumped up to the top side at a turn number 4. And that number 78 Silverado, John, trying to start to push his way to the front, being given a huge shove from behind by Ian Martin in his 98 Tundra.
And we've got 2 guys falling down on the inside lane there, falling back, like I talked about. That's what you normally do if you don't want to be up front right off the bat. And on the outside line, like you said, you've got Miller up there. He's got some help from the 98 of Martin. Behind him, he's got the 21 of Thompson. But it's going to take more than 3 cars. It's going to take one major thing, Nolan. It's going to take commitment. We talked about this, myself and another commentator, at another speedway race at Daytona. You can't just jump up there, and the second you start to lose a little bit of ground, jump back down. You're going to lose ground, but you're going to gain tons more back if you stay committed to that outside line.
So far, it looks as though Miller is very much committed to that top side. He's got Martin and Tory Thompson both looking to push him. You can see 2 guys further in the back there trying to catch up there with them. And your race leader bailing out for the race lead. Ted Wade to the bottom side. He's going to be fading to the back of this field. Now, of course, that does bring up, I guess, another little point that we need to mention as well, right, John? The fact that the guys running out in front are going to be burning a lot more fuel the guys further in the back. Now, of course, these guys run 100% fuel tank throughout these races. You have to think, though, that they're still going to have to, I'd imagine, pit probably once or so throughout this race still. So when do you think that pit window might be coming up for these guys?
In my experience, usually right around lap 32, and that's for the guys up front. And then further back, it just depends on how much they let the track pull along, so to speak. You made a really good point there. The guys up front, they got to keep that pedal mashed down the whole time if they want to stay up front. The guys in the back can just throttle a little bit, other that throttle and come back to about 3/4, 50% throttle and still stay in the draft because of the way the draft works. So, but then again, I'm going to be completely and totally frank with you. It's been a little while since I raced trucks at Daytona. I try to avoid plate track racing at all costs if I can. So I don't know if there's been a whole lot of change in the fuel mileage for me.
Across the line, you still see J.R. Miller in that number 78 car continuing to push his way to the front of this thing, and now just poked his nose into the race lead. So Miller is keeping committed to that top side, about 6 cars strong now the outside lane, and you can see the inside lane already starting to falter. Victor Bartlett just about cleared now from J.R. Miller. Does Miller chop down in front? Does not, as the inside gets a bit of a head of steam. The outside bobbled a little bit, and that allows for Victor Bartlett to once again poke the nose ahead into 3 and 4. He is being pushed by Adam Newbert in turn through turns 3 and 4 for the time being. So coming to the close of lap number 5, and already we are still completely green throughout this race. No issues so far. Everybody within this maiden pack, save for Derek Kilgore and James Morris, who started this race on pit road, and you saw them both exiting the pits on lap number 1. So they're going to need a caution to get their way back up into this fight. J.R. Miller continues to hunt that lead around the outside line.
Yeah, those two guys are already a half a lap behind. In the meantime, up front, Miller, he's not able to, he was able to clear him earlier, but I don't think he wanted to ditch his teammate there, or not his teammate, but maybe his dancing partner, the 98, which is back there pushing him and giving him all that boost he's got. So he stayed up where he was, and that's, that's one way to handle things. Me, I'm selfish. I would jump down in front right there. Great shot
with Ian Martin.
Yep.
Trying to give it a shove to J.R. Miller, trying to go for the race lead. That Valvoline Chrome Silverado has not been able to get fully clear of Victor Bartlett though throughout the start of this race. Have to wonder how this could cost him if he continues to run around that outside line. How about going for a 3 wide right behind Tory Thompson, trying to find the middle? That's going to keep Brett Tucker pinned on the outside line, and Andrew McGronigle going to be going with the 99. So our third lane already starting to open up. We're not even a tenth of the way through this race. The Malwarebytes Ford F-150 on a charge around the outside line with McGronigle with them. But in these trucks this early on with so few trucks, it's not going to happen. They're not going to be able to keep that run and make it hold. That is just stalled out the entire run that middle lane ended up having. The J.R. Miller will be able to push around and lead a lap this time by.
Just that one little inch got in the lead for some bonus points if possible. Meantime, those two guys are still trying to make that third line come in, and they're just not going to have a whole lot of success. What you're doing is you're basically having the draft power, cutting it in half as you would have if you just stayed in line. And they're going to find that out real quick here in a minute.
Now this is where it gets tight. If you're the guys in the middle line, you are sweating bullets at the moment. You got guys up high, you got guys down low, and you have to rely on both of those lines to be able to hold their own grooves while you try to maintain yours for the time being as well. And you saw how big of a head of steam the 99 car and that outside train got coming around turn 2 that last time by, but wasn't enough for them to make a proper move into 3 and 4. So Tucker and McGronigle going to tuck in line now behind that second train as once again, J.R. Miller clears for the race lead, but wanted to keep this one up high. And I honestly like J.R. Miller's strategy here, right, John? Because if you go down to the inside line, you're basically setting yourself up to be cycled through, because before you know it, the guy behind you is going to be cycled through the lead and put you down to second place. And then the guy behind him and the guy behind him until you can find the back end of that second train and get back up there. He's wanting to make sure that second line can be able to have a run with him. Oh, and he's going to be forcing the number 25 of Bartlett below the line. As E. Martin came down, wasn't quite clear. The 25 car fading back in a hurry on the apron, but keeps it out of everybody else. It was some good heads-up drive there from Bartlett to keep that car out of the wall and everybody else.
Yeah, 25, I don't know. He was just, that probably got his attention real big time right there, and he's going to get spade to the back and right around. That could have been a calamity in that turn right there. As close as they worked together. Front of the pack, getting turned around in front of the pack like that, Nolan, you and I had seen it before, it would have been a humongous wreck.
Looking at the Pulse Poppers
Yeah.
replay right there. Just caught the left rear in the 98. I'll tell you what, E. Martin can thank his lucky stars, but 25 didn't hook him there because had Bartlett not spun down or not gone down onto the apron, they absolutely would have made contact there. So that was the first appearance of the Pulse Poppers replay so far, and I have a distinct feeling here, John. It's not going to be the last before we end this race.
No. I've got the same feeling, brother. And we talked about this at the top of the show. We're at lap 10 right now. No caution yet, knock on wood. Really beating hard right there. So those two guys that were in the pits we talked about for a brief moment of time there, they're almost a full lap down. They're only 15 seconds in front of the leader right now, and they're falling fast. So this is what we talked about. You don't have a guarantee of an early caution here. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't have it. But, you know, it looks like that strategy is going to turn around to kind of a problem. In the meantime, up front, Miller still holding his line down there on the inside now. He's got a challenge on the outside from 99 of Martin, and I can't see what the number is on the other car. It looks like the 09 of McGronigle.
McGronigle thought about opening up a third lane once again, but Tory Thompson indicated he was not about to go with them. And that, I think, convinced McGronigle just tucked back in line in his Sparco Chevrolet. So far, it's been a solid run for everybody out there in this field. We have only had really one incident, and it was almost a non-issue. Bartlett managed to tuck up right at the back end of this field, so he'll be no doubt trying to slowly claw his way back and regain lost time. And that puts J.R. Miller back to the race lead once again. And his number 78 car started fourth. He's in first. How about Rhett Tucker, though? Started all the way down to the 18th place after not setting the qualifying lap and looking to challenge already for the race lead after just the 12th lap. That means he has been moving up more than one spot every single lap on average. I think that goes to show just how aggressive Tucker is in trying to take this lead away, as he will be able to lead this lap here at the line.
And I'm going to have to go back and watch the replay, but I think he's made all his passes on that outside line, Dolan, with a little bit of help from his friends. He's worked his way all the way up to battling for the lead now, and that's just great. I love seeing guys do that. Take that outside line and gamble with it. See if you can get something going there. And as we watch, he is just really hanging in there, but he needs that guy behind him in the 09 McGronigle there. See all that movement from McGronigle? That's just slowing him down. The straighter you can hold your wheel, the faster you're going to go.
I think McGronigle is a little bit impatient here. I think McGronigle's a bit impatient. I think he wants to go to the front. I mean, we saw it earlier. He was more than willing to open up a third line, and he's tried it a couple of times up here in second, but nobody's really been willing to go with them. So I think that he wants to get to the front. He wants to lead this thing. Look out, J.R. Miller getting a bit sideways onto the apron there, just on the exit of the tri-oval. Now, that is one of the most easy places it is to lose a car. The banking is definitely very, very easy to underestimate, especially the transitioning between track and apron.
Yes, sir. The truck is so light right there. Whoa, good shot. Somebody's motor is looking cool, calm and collected. Who is that? Back it out a little bit.
That was McGronigle's motor for the back of Rhett Tucker. So you never wanted to know the inner workings of a Chevrolet Silverado. Well, there you go. That's the perfect shot for you right there.
There's your alternator down there. There's your oil pump for the sump right there. It's a great shot. Thank you, producer Cody. So I don't even know what the heck I was saying. Wow, look at the rubber all over that truck. Or is that the paint job? I can't tell.
I think that goes to show just how aggressive of a pusher McGronigle is at the time being. Like I said, he wants to go. He does not want to sit around and just take it easy. He wants to go, and make up these positions. And I think if he could just get Tory Thompson, potentially Eric Zimmerman to work with him, they could open up an outside line and just abandon Rhett Tucker for the Sharks in the midfield. But the problem is, so far, nobody's been willing to work with McGronigle throughout the course of this race. And Tucker pushed clear of Miller entering 3, but Miller still kept it up high, did not want to take the risk of chopping down across J.R. Miller when he was still at the quarter panel. So coming to the conclusion of lap number 15, we're still single file for a good portion of this field. It's really the top 4 on the outside line. That's really the only side-by-side racing there is. There is one car further in the back of Christopher Blanchard, you can see in his very pink Chevy just in behind, but so far, everybody else I think is one to play it safe for the time being early in the race still.
Yeah, we're still really early in this race now. We saw it happen on screen there. Victor Bartlett in the 25 truck got shoved down the inside a while back. He's made his way back up inside the top 10 there, Nolan. So let's keep our eyes on him. He's coming back with a fiery passion, it looks like. Definitely got some place to be. He's on the outside now with that outside line, looking to push that 21 truck of Thompson up there and try to give McGronigle and Tucker a little bit more help on the outside line, and he's bringing somebody with him. This could help those guys really get some momentum going through these turns, trying to make a pass on the guys below.
And you can see as well a few more drivers working, looking to make that outside work. Among them was Blanchard, as I say, that he jumps to the inside line. Steve Tucker is still on the top side, so is Stephen Gregory. Both those drivers trying to see if they can potentially catch up in the main pack up in front, which is now 5 trucks strong on the outside line. But I have to say, it's been very calm and collected for your top 2 for the time being, still running side by side as they have for the first, or well, really the last 7-8 laps or so, which is obviously what you want to see. You want to see guys thinking big picture, not making so many aggressive moves really early on. There will be a time and a place for that, and the time and place, I would say, not on lap 17 out of 80. Now, if it was 17 out of 20, yeah, maybe, but the race is a bit longer than that one, isn't it?
A little bit, just a little bit, yeah, man. But I tell you what, to me, that's the best part of plate racing is the last 10 laps of the race. And I want to clarify something I said during qualifying. I didn't mean that it's my least favorite part, right now as we're watching everybody. I just don't like qualifying on a super speedway. I'm definitely one of those guys that will just grit at the back, if you know what I mean. But back to what we were saying here. Tucker's still struggling on the outside. He's going to cut down this time in front of Miller. He's going to take that lead from J.R. Miller and kind of leave his buddy McGronigle straight on the outside. And I'll tell you what, nothing infuriates me more than getting kind of cut out and left out to dry like that, man.
Now, good news from McGronigle. He still has a lot of people willing to work with him on the top side. You got Zachary Hartwig trying to throw his hat into the ring. Jeffrey Sickles as well as Steve Tucker all trying to throw their hat in there as well. And we saw how aggressive of a push McGronigle was being earlier on in this race. Now that he's leading that train, though, he's the one being pushed, you wonder how aggressive will he be in trying to chop back down across Brett Tucker to lead this race. Already trying to pinch down guys like Ian Martin through that inside line, trying to ensure that the side drive to work in his favor, but he's weaving around a little bit, and that is costing that outside line tremendously for the time being. They have lost several cars now due to people seeing what's going on in front. They're bailing out, and oh, how about this? Ian Martin wants a piece of the outside line. McGronigle wants nothing of it, and J.R. Miller's going to go with him as well. And Brett Tucker gets abandoned on the inside.
Wow, man, that was a great move by Miller in that 78 car. He saw the momentum coming, peeked out just at the right time, used that air to get him pushed into the lead. Now he's going to come back down with Martin right there on his 6. Look at that swing back up to the top side for Tucker in that 99. He's going to try and get back up to the outside line where he started at, try to get that lead back. That was a great move, you got to admit, Nolan, by Miller right there. That was amazing.
And it helped that Ian Martin went with him, right, to jump to the outside line. They pushed clear and immediately chopped back down low. But, of course, now you got McGronigle as well as Rhett Tucker once again working the top side. Both drivers trying to have a run behind. One driver really squirrely in the background as well. Rhett Tucker leads this lap at the line, but is definitely not clear by any stretch of the means. Between your top 2, it's just 12 thousandths of a second at the line, showing how fine the margins can be between leading a lap and being runner-up at a track like Daytona. And we talked earlier about lap traffic in the form of James Morris and Derek Kilgore, with both of those drivers having to start from the pits. Well, now they are about to be lapped here. This very lap, as a matter of fact, just less than a second away from your top 2. I hope they would go high to get out of the leader's way.
They're going to go high, and they're going to make it 3 wide for a brief time. But they're also, at this point now, when they get lapped, Nolan, they're going to be competing with each other for the lucky dog should it come out. Oh, wow.
And one very important thing. One very important thing to note, you saw the extra head of steam that Rhett Tucker there. That was from utilizing those lap cars as extra drafting picks to get a bit of a run. Didn't work out for them, though, was not able to pull McGronigle with them. So they're going to be back to square one. Down the back straightaway for the 22nd time today, as we have crossed that 1/4 mark in this race and continue to close on the halfway point throughout this one. And see Miller still working hard from the inside line, but still burning a lot of extra fuel just trying to keep that car up in front of the field.
Absolutely. That's what's great about this green flag run we're seeing right around NOLA. It's going to tell us exactly how long these guys can go on fuel. And like I said, I'm sticking to my guns on this one. I want to say it's going to be between lap 30 and lap 40, but I'm not real sure, to be honest with you. I haven't done this race in a while.
Oh, trouble wrecking to the outside wall. There's your top two, and that's going to be the big one. One goes flying into the air, and who was that? I got sent. It was Tory Thompson on his roof in the infield of turn number 2. At least half the field collected in this one, and a lot of those drivers really grateful now, I'd imagine, that they have that fast repair. Caution is out for the first time today on lap number 23. Let's take a look at your Pulse Poppers replay on just how all of this kicked off here from Daytona International Speedway. I believe it was your top 2 that got together, and I think it was Rhett Tucker got a bad bump from, I believe it was McGonigal, and that is a huge launch for the 21 of Tory Thompson.
And what's so unfortunate, Nolan, is you can see it on screen right there. When you have a wreck like that up front, it takes out the entire field. And right now, we've got a bunch of guys heading to the pits. They're going to have to use that fast repair we talked about. Oh, here's our warning. And folks, if you get seasick and you got motion sickness, you don't want to watch this.
On board with Tory Thompson, the driver that got sent skyward at least twice the height of the catch fencing himself. Watch as it was a bad bump from McGonigal. There it was right there, and that sent him down into Miller, hard to the outside wall, and well, you don't even know where you are at this point in time, not until about here.
Wow.
That's when you realize you're in the infield, but you still don't know where, quite obviously. But yeah, that all got kicked off because of a bad bump from McGonigal mid-corner. It's such a huge risk to do that, and it just hooked Tucker the slightest bit down. It was just enough to wipe out J.R. Miller on the inside line. Unfortunately, though, Tucker, despite having been given a bad bump, still given the EOL, I believe, for being at fault of causing that incident, is I believe what the ruling has been. So, Rhett Tucker going to be starting this race from a long way down, or at least this restart.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but that's part of plate racing. And then, you know, like I said, a lot of people got wrecked on this. He's going to the back. A lot of bad things, but the one good thing about it is the fact that it did bring out the caution. Some of these guys will be able to get in, save their fast repair, Nolan, and just get the minor dents and dings beat out and not go a lap down, because it takes almost 2 minutes to do a lap here under caution. So, you know, it'll give a chance for everybody to catch their breath and get calmed down a little bit. It's still going to mess up our fuel strategy as far as that goes, but we still don't know what it is.
And well, with pit stops complete and Ted Wade now heading up the field after he opted to stay out, we will take a quick commercial break and we'll be back in a few moments with your restart in a moment. Stay with us.
An automobile purchase shouldn't be hard. The hardest part for the consumer in the whole process should be selecting the vehicle. We have the online credit application. We can bring the car to you to see it, to test drive it, to deliver it. We have all the tools in place, and we've had them in place for a long time. I just think now we've perfected it. It's become part of our culture. We've, kind of taken it to the next level. It is easy, and it should be easy, and it should be fun, and it shouldn't take a whole lot of time.
Hey, it's Wesley Outland on the set of the Bull Ring on Speed 51 TV, but I also want to remind everybody that you can keep up with coverage of esports with the Northwest Cup and Truck Series, the American iRacing League, S&B Cup Series, and so much more on your home for sim racing, LSRTV. Of course, remember, you can watch it, and then you can listen to it on CRN, the community radio network at wearecrn.com. Check us out when you can.
And of course, I want to give a huge shout out as well to the Buddy Project as well as Butt Kicker for being able to sponsor the North American Sim Racing Association here from the Daytona International Speedway. Of course, those guys did a fantastic job in helping NASRA to keep the lights on and giving us what has been a solid performance so far. 1 lap left to green, and when I say 1 lap, or how about a quarter of a lap, maybe even a fifth, this base car taking this field out through 3 and 4, and Ted Wade didn't come down and pit. He opted to, though, later on, and we are now going to find ourselves going green flag racing. E. Martin going to be starting this field up in front. A damaged Adam Newberg going to be to his outside line. Pace car is down and in, and the 98 Toyota Tundra leads us back to green.
You ever use one of those butt kickers, Nolan?
Haven't say I have had the chance to yet, no.
It's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. It adds some, it does have a level of realism if you're racing VR, but if you're not ready for it, it'll catch you off guard.
Heard only good things about it, though,
fight.
and Up for the lead, looks like Newbert in the number 4 car, going to be to the point. Adam Newbert clears for the race lead down to the inside line, and Raul Meza now heads up that top side. Meza was, of course, a bit further down the order, hasn't been up front fighting for the lead too much in this race, though now that Taylor Peacock is running behind with them, it looks like those two might have something to say for your top run for the time being. And how about the guy that might have had a hand in starting off our first big one of the night? Andrew McGronigal running third in line from the outside line. You know it's going to be a bit of an interesting one now, but that inside line completely discoordinated at the time being.
It looks like the whole field's discoordinated right now. Nolan, some of these guys can't make up their mind if they want to be high or down low, and that all that's going to do is give those 2 guys out front cushion. You know, some time to relax and just concentrate on driving a straight line with the car in front of them. The more these guys wiggle around back there and jump from high to low, the better off it is for our leaders. Right now, we got about 3 cars out front by themselves, and it's 2 by 2 on back for a few rounds.
Raul Meza still headed up the outside train, but it took them quite a bit to get a few cars lined up. It's got Meza along with McGronigal, Thompson, and it looks as though that is going to be about it now for the guys up in front. How about Taylor Peacock jumping to the top side, making the move around Austin Trumbley on the bottom side. And just in front of him is your 2 race leaders, Adam Newbert, along with Dean Martin. Don't forget that 25 car of Victor Bartlett was up in front for a good portion of this race already early on before he got muscled down and out of line onto the apron entering turn number 3. He is still trying to find some lost ground as well as more and more drivers start to link up with that top side. How about J.R. Miller? Thinking about venturing up there for really the first time for an extended period of time all race long.
Is that J.R. or is it Junior Miller?
Well, we'll call it J.R. Miller until someone corrects us. So, Miller, the last car in line, and thinking about going back down low, but at this point, Eric Zimmerman, I think, has just about closed the hole.
Yeah, that could have been another one right there. That could have been a pretty big wreck, but luckily, Palmer has bailed there, and everybody kind of sorted it out. The reason I asked about his name pronunciation, Nolan, is I don't know if you watch those modified races from out there at like Bowman Gray and all that. There's a Junior Miller that rides in those. He's an interesting fellow.
Still have yet to watch a full Bowman Gray race. I definitely have it on my list of things to accomplish before too long here, though. It's on my list of New Year's resolutions, shall we say. So I definitely make plans. I'm trying to make plans on seeing a Bowman Gray race at some point. How about for the lead? Ian Martin to the top side, and one driver at the same time dives down low. So Nathan Roge wanted to back out, whereas Ian Martin going to be going through the point with Adam Newbert around the low side. Taylor Peacock trying to go with the number 98 around the outside line, and filling up the hole on the inside is going to be Austin Trumbley, still trying to make some ground on that inside lane as well, and Albert McGronigal thinking about the third lane, but once again, no one wanted to go with him.
Well, he had a dancing partner do it the first time he did that three-lane shuffle up there, but that dancing partner got destroyed in that big wreck we saw earlier, so he's got no takers to go with him up the third line up there. He's got the stay in line right here where he's at. He's going to have to get up there and help me. You want to Peacock really push Martin, or they're not going to make up as much ground as they could. All this wiggling and just laying off of each other like they are. They've got to get up there and push.
It is still early. Still about another 8 laps at the line this time by before we actually hit halfway, so there is a bit more time to work with. Look out, Raul Meza clipping the apron. That checks up the inside line. All of a sudden, Andrew McGronigal finds the hole. He tucks in down low, and that will disorganize that top lane just a little bit more. Meza having a close call, still having a close call through the tri-oval as well. That 37 car has got to get his ducks in a row, or he could find himself being the cause of caution number 2.
Yeah, he's messing around that apron too much, and you don't want to do that. You can get away with it in turns 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 Nolan, but you do that in a tri-oval, you're going for a ride, and you're probably taking somebody with you. And look at this. McGronigal down to the inside, dropping back. Not real sure what's going on with that.
I think a good term of phrase is respect the yellow line, right? If you don't respect the yellow line will sure as heck not respect you or the shape of your car, and it'll, shall we say, do some origami with sheet metal if it so pleases. Up in front, Tory Thompson moves to the top side across the nose of Ian Martin, and the 98 Tundra now pushing the Silverado, and with nobody to help the inside line, Newbert and Trumbley start to fall back, and Thompson pushes his nose ahead. Not nearly enough, though, to clear. Maybe they could get a good run out of turn 2. Could have something down the back straightaway, but unless that 98 car starts really pushing, I don't think it's going to happen. It might this time, though. Thompson getting closer, but Martin a bit unsettled in behind and was trying to tap on the right rear quarter panel. About one of the worst places you could try to push a car. This is the perfect place to hook it down into the inside line, and that caused the inside row to get a bit more head of steam than that outside grouping.
Yeah, like I said, there's just, if you watch these guys, there's entirely too much wiggling back and forth, and sometimes that's a result of them using a much lower steering ratio than the rest of the field, and sometimes it's just a result of a guy who just puts too much input on the field. But I'll tell you, we got contact between one trucks around at the front of the field. Here we go again.
And again, a car got launched, and somebody way down to the inside line, I believe it was Adam Newbert is what I'm being told in my ear, who just got absolutely sent, stopped dead at the fence. Now, it is worth noting, iRacing did just update those fencing. You wonder if that's what's causing all these cars to be hooking back in the safer area like this. Taking a look at the Pulse Poppers replay, and Adam Newbert, the guy that was leading the race, turned by the 21. And we'll take a look at this one into turn number 1, and just going to get stuck in the safer barrier right there. The field wrecks in front of him, and that, I think, actually caused a secondary wreck just in behind a lot of these guys. Because of that, you don't wonder I want to get a look on board with Hunter Parsons. He got a front row seat of all of that and got through it unscathed.
Well, we have to check that out. Hopefully our producer get that for us. My goodness, that catch fence is it's like a baseball bat to these cars. It's just wow.
And here is on board with the 05 Chevy Silverado of Hunter Parsons. Watch the wreck develop right up in front of him. There you see the Ford go fly to the outside line and just getting around that by the skin of his teeth, while everyone else still wrecks in front, bouncing over the access road. And amazing scenes from Hunter Parsons. It's not one of the worst things you can see is somebody stop dead in the vents and immediately shoot down into your line. Now, once again, want to touch on the 3D catch fencing, right? That was just updated to iRacing earlier this morning, as a matter of fact. So it's not even, I would say, 12 hours old. So with all of this in mind, you think that that might be what's causing a lot of these drivers to hook back in the safety barrier like that? Because I have to be honest, I haven't seen 2 wrecks like that in a row for a very long time at this track.
I've got to think you're right, Nolan, to be honest with you. And folks, the way it works in sim racing, you have what they call collision boxes. Okay? You don't see the collision boxes. What you're seeing is the graphic art part of the simulator. The collision boxes are what tells a simulator when one object collides with another. So I think what we're seeing right now, Nolan, is this collision, or the collision box for the fences might need to be nerfed a little bit because, man, when these guys are hitting that fence, you say yourself, it's launching them like a rocket back up into the field, and well, we've seen the outcome of that. I will say this on a slightly lighter note. That Chick-fil-A truck is making me really hungry. And we happen to have a Chick-fil-A about 5 minutes from my house.
Well, order some
so
DoorDash.
If I give you my if I give you my PayPal, Cody, could you put that on screen and maybe I can get some donations to go get me some Chick-fil-A? Say,
oh boy, you're making me hungry now.
Right? Well, look at it. It's a beautiful truck, and it's telling us we have to eat more chicken. I'm just saying.
Oh boy. Well, caution number 2, and we have now had 2 different incidents where we've seen a car, shall we say, try to create their own little space program. So we'll have to see if that is the department that iRacing's wanted to get into. It will be a bit of an interesting one, I'd say. I mean, you'd think. I mean, you'd think we're trying to get into F-Zero bit here with how much these cars are trying to take off and at the speeds they're starting and stopping at. So still under the second caution period, and that's going to all put McGronigal now into the race lead. Now, isn't that a bit, I almost want to say ironic? Because just like a lap and a half earlier, McGronigal had faded to the back to get out of all the chaos in the front. Just in time, yes, because, you know, about a lap and a half later, you had that big wreck that he would have almost certainly been collected in. But, well, that's going to put him right back where he started.
And he's got a little bit of damage. I'm not sure where the damage came from, but if you look at the back end of that truck, the right rear has been uplifted a wee bit. And what that's going to do is that's actually going to create a little bit more drag on that back end as it puts that spoiler a little higher in the air. And it may not benefit him too much out front because that's going to kind of act like a parachute. But yeah, he dodged a bullet, but now he's right back up in front of the firing line, as they say. Nolan, I don't know, man. I think I would have pitted a second time and just, you know, come out of the pits behind everybody. I don't think it's over with. Even though we have a lot of cars wrinkled up, don't forget there's a fast repair. A lot of those guys can get in there and use that fast repair and get back out. So yeah, I don't know. It's still a little too early for me. We're almost to halfway. We're going back to green with lap 39 out of 80, so we'll be halfway here in a couple of laps. So I wonder how this is going to affect our fuel mileage we were worried about, which I don't think we should worry about anymore, to be honest.
Coming around through turns 3 and 4, we'll be coming to the halfway point in just a little moment here, and you look at how things are shaping up presently. First, second, and fourth have all stayed out for the time being. And that being said, James Morris has pitted only 13 laps ago as well. So I think at this point in time, drivers might be a bit safer to go to the end. I think they might need to stop once more. We'll see how this shakes up, though, as the race goes along. Pace cars down and in, and once again, McGronigal now will lead us back to the green flag for the 3rd time tonight.
Great start by McGronigal in that 09 car. Tucker's going to dip down there to the inside. I think that's Tucker in the 1 car, right? It's 10 in the scoring, but it's 1 on the side of the truck. Oh, am I looking at it wrong?
You've got Ian Martin running the outside lane now. McGronigal trying to block. Look out for Steve Tucker in the number 10. Oh, he's going to hook McGronigal outside.
Oh, here we go again.
What
oh my
on
gosh.
earth was that? Just getting everybody collected. That frankly did not need to happen. That was a remarkably, I mean, talk about a lapse in judgment, right? I mean,
but that was a very ill-advised move.
That is what happens when you try to block 2 lanes at once on a restart. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Take a look at the Post Poppers replay here, and you're looking on for the back of Andrew McGronigle onto the back straightaway. And so far, this is the only caution where we have not seen a car go flying. And you saw him go up to try to block the run from Bart. Immediately comes down, and that causes Tucker to scramble. And I have to say, McGronigle did that to himself. I mean, Tucker was already there. There was nothing the number 1 could do. He was holding his lane, and McGronigle pushes up into him.
And there's no reason to do stuff like that. We still have 40 laps of racing to go. So what if you lose 2 or 3 spots? You're still racing. Well, now he's got to worry about the damage he's got on the truck. He's probably already used his fast repair because of his involvement in other incidents. And like you said, that was just, it didn't have to happen. That really did not have to happen.
Well, we're going to be halfway this time by, and once all the pit stops cycle through, we'll look top to bottom and how your field is shaking up so far. And E. Martin going to be retiring from this race, and so far he'll be joining the other 5 cars that are laps now, likes J.R. Miller, Derek Kilgore, Tory Thompson, and Adam Newbert. So far, though, he is the first retirement of this race. You can just see up there, that was Raul Meza pushing his way up to where he needs to be in the pacing line. And will we see anybody coming on down to pit road? I think the answer would be yes. How about your race leader making a bit of a late call? Steve Tucker coming on in.
That might be a telltale sign of where they can go on the field, too. I'm guessing that maybe he thinks if he gets in, gets his repairs made, tops it off, maybe comes in one more time to top the truck off one more time, he might be able to go the rest of the way on 1 tank of fuel. We'll see. That would be interesting. Of course, the way these guys are driving right now, Nolan, we're probably going to see another caution, maybe 2 before this is over with. Yes, he did.
Interestingly enough, I have a feeling, yes, Steve Tucker did take 4 tires for himself there. So the number 1 car wanted to fix up a little bit of damage on his machine. And as the field now starts to slowly but surely file off of pit road, before we go green, I do want to take a look back through the field. But I want to just wait until everybody exits out pit road first to see if we can potentially have a bit of a moment to let people, get that damage fixed and then get back caught up with the field, let penalties be cycled through, and so on and so forth.
Don't you love plate racing, Nolan?
I love plate racing when it's green. Let's say that.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I love watching plate racing. I'm not a big fan of participating in it. My favorite track to watch has always been Talladega. There's just something about that 2.66 mile monstrosity that provides some of the best racing to me. 3, 4. I've seen 5 wide through the tri-oval in an ARCA race and in an Xfinity race that actually worked out. But yeah, Daytona, man, it's just so narrow. Look, that's a prime example right there. Great shot. That's how narrow that track is. Now, if you laid that shot overlaid with Talladega, you'd see, I think it's, a 25-foot difference between 2 tracks as far as the width of the track goes?
Something around there. It's only about 0.16 of a mile difference between the 2 of them, but it is a little bit wider, and it's that touch longer, and that gets a bit steeper as well, which makes it look a lot bigger than it really is. So with 1 to green, let's take a quick look on how your field is shaking up so far. Eric Zimmerman, your race leader. Raul Meza is 2nd. Tucker's 3rd. Jeffrey Sickles is in 4th place. Both spots gained, by the way, for him as well as Tucker. They both started 26th and 27th, running 3rd and 4th. Chris Cinnamon is 5th. Darren Halliman is in 6th place. Taylor Peacock is 7th. How about Morrison 8th? Nathan Roche is 9th. Victor Bartlett is currently around at your top 10. And so far, the first driver in the field that is on a net loss position. Everybody ahead of him has only been moving up and up. And that is going to put Cody Knott as well in 11th place with Justin Limpkin, I believe, down in, well, not going to be in 12th place, actually, as he just got some bit further back. So after everything kind of gets shaken up a little bit, but as we're just being told as well, I think I know why drivers race a bit more aggressively in this one. How does a $210 purse sound to you for the end of this race?
Money, 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 money. That's how it sounds.
Money talks, I'll say that much, and that is definitely what is getting these drivers a bit more hyped up, right? They're being a bit more aggressive here, trying to get that ever-coveted prize. I'll have to see who will come out on top of that by the end of this race. Eric Zimmerman is going to be taking this field back to green. Some guys still trying to catch up to the field and get themselves properly slotted in. As we go back, racing will now be in the second half of this race, starting around lap 43 out of 80 at Daytona. And Eric Zimmerman with a very slow start. That's going to push Tucker to the high side, and Zimmerman might have a problem here because look at how slow he was off the start. Passed by two cars from the one car from the outside line, and then one passing around him from the inside to the outside before they hit turn one.
I'm wondering if he might have started in the wrong gear. That's what that looked like right there. It didn't look so much like spun tires. It looked like he had it in the wrong gear to start this race. And you're right, it really scrambled up the field right there. Now, I'm digging on the outside there, that number 3 Goodrich car. That's the Tasmanian Devil car that Earnhardt drove once or twice. I love that paint scheme. And then I saw another one I like, that 25 car. We was talking about him earlier. Bartlett, he's driving that Tim Richmond tribute paint scheme on that truck right there. I just want to give some shout-outs on some paint schemes here. Nolan, you know that I'm a painter at heart. I've been doing it for a long time, and I love seeing these guys, their creativity out there on track. But, man, that up front bomb right there by Zimmerman, it could have been a lot worse than it turned out to be.
As this field comes around turn 2, down the back straightaway, Steve Tucker continues to lead the way as the field gets back up to 180 plus miles an hour. It's Cinnamon running the top side, helped out by Sickles as well as Newberg. You're at the moment watching Victor Bartlett for the inside line, trying to catch up to the rest of the inside line crew with Darren Halleman running 4th in line on the bottom as well in his number 9 Chevy Silverado. How about Raul Meza jumping to the top side, pushing around Steve Tucker. The outside lane at the moment, if you want to make decisions, is where you want to be, as Cinnamon and Meza both clear for the race lead, and they're both going to chop down in front.
Going to drop down in front and leave that 22 car Sickles high and dry up there. He's going to be back there duking it out with the 1 car. And he's only got, I guess, 1 guy help pushing him right now, so he's going to lose a little bit of ground, it looks like. That outside line just lost containment there. They lost all the nose to tail work they were getting. And look at that. It's going to help the 37 car of Meza and the 3 of Cinnamon push out front. Pretty good, healthy little gap there.
And the only problem is nobody's really working with them on the outside line, and that is costing them big time for the time being. And that outside is starting to slip a little bit further backwards. Look out for the 94 of Eric Zimmerman. Flipping the apron off the exit of the tri-oval. That will give him a small boost up to the trucks up in front of him, running 1, 2, 3 single file on the bottom, but not going to help him, I would imagine, too much in the long run, as he's going to get stuck with the 22 on his outside. So at this point, the laps start to count down, and with every lap, we get closer and closer to when it all starts to break loose, right? That's when everybody's going to start pushing as hard as they possibly can, and nobody's going to be taking that conservative approach for much longer.
Not at all, Nolan, and we're going to see, we've seen some aggression already tonight. It's resulted in a couple of unnecessary cautions, but when you get down to the last 5 laps, that's when all bets are off, and we're going to see that aggression probably amped up 200% at least.
Still watching Newbert around the outside line with Jeffrey Sickles, and they have some guys trying to come with them. I'm looking at the moment further back to Ted Ware, Austin Trumbley, as well as the guy that kicked off one of the latest cautions we had, Jared Miller, who jumps to the inside with Trumbley in tow. That will put Ted Wade now just by himself on the outside line, trying to push up to the other guys, but he also ducks back in. This is getting a bit dicey. You mentioned, guys that like to do this, right, weave in and out as the runs come and go, and how it only tends to cost you. Well, guys like Ted Wade are using that strategy to slowly pick their way through. You still think it's worth it? Try and think you think it's more worth it to still commit at this point in time.
Well, I think what's really hurting those two guys on top though is their body damage. On a couple of levels there, A, it's definitely going to make them a little bit slower, the guys who are not damaged. As I say that, they're making ground for it. But B, the guys behind them that see that damage, they don't want to risk getting up there and pushing them because they may be damaged too much. You follow my drift? And as I say that, the 25 of Bartlett has made his way up there, but he's got extensive damage as well. And yeah, if you take a look at that truck right there, right front smashed in, left rear smashed in. So, you know, as a driver, when you see a car like that in front of you, you want to avoid it because you know he's damaged. He's going to be slower. You don't want to get stuck behind him. And I think that's what's hurting those guys up front right now on that top line is their cars are smashed up and nobody wants to get up there with them.
I think at the moment there are very few people still on track that actually have a fully clean truck, and that is one of the beautiful things about these Gander outdoor trucks as well, right, is the fact that even if you have a little bit of damage like Victor Bartlett, it's not going to hurt you all that much. Like, we've seen how much damage Bartlett has in this truck. It's not affecting him all that much, though, is it? I mean, he is still running very, very strong in his Silverado. He's been slowly picking his way back up through this field, making up positions one by one, doing exactly what he needs to do to try to put himself in a position where he can potentially go for some spots by the end of this race. And that's what you want to see, right? He is slowly picking his way through, letting other people tend to do the work for him. Work smart, not hard is the typical term of phrase when it comes to racing super speedways. How about one jumping to the outside line? Chris Cinnamon has had enough, sitting around in second place. He wants the race lead.
Absolutely. Cinnamon made a great, very brave, audacious move, but a great move to jump up there and hopefully use that air bubble by those two guys on the outside to push him past Mason to 37 down low. I don't think it's going to work, though. And, you know, you were talking about Bartlett in that 25, you know, yeah, he's got damage on pretty much all four corners of the truck, but if he can find guys that are willing to work with him and stay in line with him, he'll feel just like he's got a perfect truck down there like he is right now. But the minute he pokes his nose out, try and maybe pass somebody or even take the lead, he's going to feel that damage. So his best bet right now is to stay where he's at, maybe help the guys in front of him push themselves forward, gain another spot or two that way, and just try to wrap up a decent finish with a damaged truck.
30 laps left to go in the Daytona International Speedway for round number 5 of the North American Sim Racing Association. If you are just joining us, welcome back to the show. My name is Noel Rembo. I have been so far with John Munstein Jr., with Cody Wooten down behind the cameras for all of tonight's presentation thus far, and an exciting race it has been. Lots of side-by-side action, a few major wrecks so far, 2 flips on the night so far as well, and John and I were both mentioning earlier, we think that there is still the potential for 1 or 2 more, especially with 30 laps still left to go in this race. Outside line starting to get a bit more discombobulated. Chris Cinnamon pulling away even a bit from Jeffrey Sickles. I wonder if the 22 trying to set up a run and open up the third lane and abandon Cinnamon trying to go for the run himself. I would question the strategy of that so early into a green flag run with so much time left to go in this race, but I wonder if Sickles is having a bit of struggles himself, just trying to keep that truck steady with some of the damage he has, because you saw just how squirrely he was getting all the way out of the corner, even down the straightaways here.
That makes me nervous. Even in the booth, I'm not even down there, but watching a guy wheel around that much makes me very nervous, especially if I'm behind him or the truck immediately in front of him is Cinnamon right now, because all that wiggling around, if he just happens to make contact with his back bumper, you know what's going to happen, Nolan. There's a huge one.
On board with J.R. Miller, who's trying to keep with Raul Meza up in front and trying to keep that 37 Silverado up in front as well. And so far, Steve Tucker's doing a great job so far. One truck exiting pit road down low. That was Zachary Hartwig, who was one of the guys that we thought might have been out of this race. That has so far not been the case. Making it once again, just 2 retirements so far on the night in the form of Andrew McGonigal and Ian Martin, with Michael McKinnon currently marked as a did not start. So you got 20 cars still on the lead lap, 24 on track so far. Check that 25 with Hardwick still 11 laps down. And so far, that means you got 20 guys that all still have a chance to become a race winner here tonight at Daytona.
That's right. They say this all the time. Anybody can win at Daytona. And you just got to, it's a matter of being in the right place at the right time and not getting yourself involved in somebody else's mess. So we're going to see how that works out here. But I'm just really, I want to touch on this again. I know we have a couple times, but I'm really impressed with Bartlett. I mean, he's, he's had a rough night, a couple of incidents he's been involved in. He's still right up there fighting for a top 5 with these guys. That outside line, all that movement is not helping them at all, Nolan. You see them wiggle back and forth, back and forth. That means the guys behind them have to check up. They're going to lose all kinds of momentum when that happens. These guys got to figure out how to get a straight line in that vehicle.
And you saw just how unsettled Sickles was entering turn 3 that last time by. That caused them to lose about 6 car lengths in total up to being able to get clear of your race leader. And you also see lap traffic just on the horizon. That is Tory Thompson in the number 21, a truck that found itself on its lid earlier today. Had to take the tow back to pit road, and since then, Thompson has always been laps down. Still trying to get back on to the lead lap at that. Meza still working the inside lane as well, thinking about going up high to block the run, but Jeffrey Sickles is already there, being pushed from behind by Adam Newbert and into turn 3. I have a feeling Sickles might try to use some of the draft of that lap car to push his way past. He's going to go 3 wide for a brief moment, but maybe might cause problems here. Sickles way up high, almost to the wall, and that is going to stall out the run they were building.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you cannot be that out of control, and it's going to help you. It's just not going to help you at all. And if I'm the guys behind him, I'm starting to get frustrated with it. Everybody that's behind thinks in their own head, hey, I can do better. I get in front of this guy. And that's going to lead to some pretty aggressive driving here in the next 2-3 laps, I guarantee you.
And now Jeffrey Sickles once again with the run, being shoved by Adam Newbert from behind, making up about 2-3 spots. But look at just how much they shuffle around through the middle of the corner, and that is what's killing them here. The fact that they don't know when to stop pushing, and I think that is the big problem at the moment. The fact that they work so hard on getting linked up, and then they almost hook each other when they get to the corners.
I'm telling you, we're going to see a wreck that's going to start with these two within the next 2 laps. I'm calling it right here.
Coming up 20 laps to go in the final quarter of this race. Jared Miller's regrouped with the outside line, and Brett Tucker thinking about it behind him. He's kind of flip-flopped between 2 different lanes for the time being. Not a lot of drivers still with a whole lot of confidence, it would seem, on that outside line, with the majority of people still on the bottom, and I don't think this is that uncommon, right? You've still got just over a quarter of a race left, and with about 20 laps to go, coming to 23 this time by, that still is almost 20 minutes of racing left, which is, of course, more than enough time to start making the moves up to the front of this thing.
Yeah, you've got plenty of time to make your moves, get up front, but not behind that 22 car. I'm sorry, I got another person get Sickles, but that just, look at how much he's wiggling, and probably doesn't help that Nolan keeps hitting him in some odd spots on the track. But, I mean, it gets them all the way up to this point right here, and then as they exit the turn, they just lose all their momentum because they can't keep straight line.
Looks like they might have it this time by those Sickles with a big push from Adam Newbert. They're going to get clear. Newbert's not going to be able to go with them, though. Sickles ditches Newbert on the top side. He'll take the race lead away. Thought that he might want to work with Adam Newbert. That means a lap car now heads up the outside line. Adam Newbert, of course, 2 laps down. And J.R. Miller, also 2 down, going to try to push him to the front as well. Now, this is big for Miller and Newbert. They're currently battling for the lucky dog spot.
Yes, they are. That lucky dog spot is actually happening up front of the race pack. That's pretty fun. If I'm the leaders, I'm a little nervous about this too on the outside right now. And the fact that, they're racing so that lucky dog is that much more aggression in their driving style. I'm just really surprised at that move by Sickles, man. That was, wow. I guess you can hear me, so he got pissed off and said, okay, watch this. Amazing.
So 2 lap
right
cars.
Turn right there.
You got 2 lap cars heading the way around turn 3 and 4 at the moment on the outside line, and just behind them you also have got Chris Cinnamon as well as Victor Bartlett, 2 drivers that are both inside the top 5 and both trying to find their way a little bit further up in this field for the time being. And on the inside line. So far, only lead lap cars. As how about Adam Newberg getting clear? The caution comes down now. Newberg's back. Oh, there it is! They wreck! The leaders get taken out, and that's a big crash through 3 and 4. And that, I think, will secure Adam Newberg to get back on the lead lap. Wow, the one caution Newberg needed, just the laps of making one down. He'll get the lucky dog, making him as well back on the lead lap. I'm imagining, if I'm not mistaken, you're looking at the Pulse Poppers replay. What happened here? I think Sickles comes up as Miller's coming down. We'll look at it here. Entering turn 1 with our fourth, with 20 to go. This, yeah, one comes up, one comes down. They both go around and take out a good chunk of drivers in the process. Miller hard to the outside wall, getting nailed as well by one of the other drivers deeper in the field. I think that might have been Peacock. That drone check that it was Hunter Parsons, I believe. Good gravy.
My goodness. Wow. There goes your Newberg getting his lucky dog back. That's going to put the 3, I think, in the front of everybody. Yeah, Chris Cinnamon up front, Bartlett right behind him at the 25 truck. And I'm telling you, we're probably going to see pit stops here, Nolan. And these guys are thinking this is going to be the last pit stop. So we'll probably see tire changing going on. Definitely going to top the takeoff all the way. Wow, that was a game changer caution right there. That's what we call that, a game changer caution. Taz. Hey, Nolan.
Mm-hmm.
I have a really good Tasmanian Devil impersonation. You want to hear it?
Oh, sure. Let's hear it. Well, it was better than I can do. I'll say that much. I'll keep it generous. Entering pit road, Chris Simmons going to lead them in under these yellow flag pit stops for what could be the final round of pit stops we see on the night. Cody Naughton, you see, just in behind, waiting for the field to go through before he interferes with pit stops of your race leader. So Cinnamon led them down as race leader. Question is, will he be leading them off of pit road as race leader as well? One way to wait and find out. He's so far not taking tires. Fuel only, I'd imagine, and possibly damage repairs as well, right? And leaving pit road now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys to catch. He'll be racing it out, though, with Rhett Tucker on pit exit in the number 99. And Tucker takes the race lead in what could be the final run of pit stops. As I say that, even further up the field, how about Victor Bartlett actually with the race lead now, out of the pits by a mile up in front. And he did come in for just a splash. Not even a splash and go. He just took his fast repair and then took off.
Yep, he got in some Folgers coffee, and he's ready to go in. He's ready to hit the line and go. That's great. He saved that fast repair for the best time in the race right here. That was excellent thinking on his behalf.
Oh, and that's what you got to do, right? You have to always make sure that you save that quick repair for late in the race when it really matters. You can afford to lose a little bit of time with damage earlier on in the race. It's the late race game that really matters. Because if you get caught up in a second wreck further down the line, you're going to be even more screwed than you were earlier. So I also do want to just give a quick update as well that Adam Newberg is officially back on the lead lap. So that overtake that he made on the leaders right before the caution came out has netted him back on the lead lap. That Ford car still has the ability to go for a race win.
He does. He'll be starting back there probably 17th or 18th, somewhere in that line. But and that's going to be a few cars from the past. But if he was smart like our man Bartlett, saved that fast repair, he get that truck fixed up, he might be able to make it through that field with wrecked and damaged cars a little bit quicker.
Right, so let's kind of go over what our situation is looking like at the time being. You got 17 laps left to go in this race. You know you're good to go to the end on fuel at this point in time. Victor Bartlett is a driver who was up in the race lead very early on, got shuffled out. He's been clawing his way back ever since. But he's got a guy that started way down the order who's also going to be just as eager to go for a race win, starting on his outside line. And with all of this being kept in mind, with the fact that you got 18 trucks still on the lead lap, what do you reckon odds are that this still goes green to the end?
Oh, you're going to make me say it, aren't you? Slim to none.
I am. You think there's still one more?
I know there's one more.
I
Now.
got faith. Well, you got Victor Bartlett and Cinnamon on row number 1, Peacock and Trombley on row 2, Sickles and Parsons row 3.
Sickles, that's the one I was talking about.
So coming around through 3
I'm not saying
and 4.
he's a bad driver. I'm just saying he's aggressive, and we've seen him not have a very stable line through the turns. So, you know, and this part of the race brings super aggression out in people, you know. We'll see. Maybe I'll be wrong. Let's hope that I'm wrong, Nolan.
I got some faith that we'll be able to make at least a good portion of this race green to the end from here. Pace car down and in, and once again, Victor Bartlett going to be taking this field to the green flag, just like he did for one caution earlier tonight. Chris Cinnamon can be on his outside, but it was a great launch from the number 3 car, who's already poking the nose ahead of Victor Bartlett entering turn number 1. But before they got up to speed, that 25 car is no doubt going to be rocketing away and clear in front up until Cinnamon managed to get up to speed himself.
Yeah, it looks like their guy back behind them, Sickles, jumped down the inside line, left kind of a gap between one truck of Trombley, and I think that's I can't tell who that is way back there, but until they get maybe a third or a fourth car to join them in that high line, it's going to be difficult for those guys to really get the speed that they need to pass up Bartlett down there on the inside.
And coming around through the tri-oval, looks as though they'll have Nathan Roge on the outside lane. He'll bring a train of 3 with him, as Christopher Blanchard is in the mix of this. Ted Wade is in there as well, and Brandon Bullock just fading back a touch in the background as well. So the outside line forming up already, and this could be very, very critical coming to 15 laps to go this next time by. And Ted Wade looking to find his way, maybe open up a third line. He's going to bail out, go down to the bottom instead. Checked up from the bottom, though, is not going to help matters as this battle for the lead continues to pick on up, and it is going to come down right down to the wire, very much to potentially a last desperate move from even the second guy in line on the inside row.
Absolutely. This is the part of the race where these guys are looking at who's behind them, who's in front of them, how these guys like to typically drive. They're calculating, who can I trust to help me make my move? And this is all going on at 185 miles an hour.
That outside line is looking very strong at the moment. They got a lot of guys linked up there. If they could just get a touch close and be able to push each other, they might just be able to make that outside line work for them. But so far, while the outside line may have more drivers in total, the inside row is a lot more organized, and that is what is helping them to keep that outside group at bay for the time being. Taylor Peacock has been making sure to give very square hits to the back of Victor Bartlett to push the 25 truck further and further forward. And that is only going to help things as time goes along. Hunter Pearson's making a late move to the outside, though. That will definitely hold up the inside grouping, and as Nicholas Sacco going to take up third in line on the bottom.
Wow, that move by Parsons was risky at best, but I think it's going to help those two guys at the top line up front, Cinnamon and Trombley, that one. That guy in that white and purple, I really still can't see his number too well. Just hasn't been able to get up there and really hook up with the bumpers and help them at all. But I think with, could be wrong. They're going backwards all of a sudden.
You see even the in front are starting to wiggle around. Peacock jumps to the top side. He'll now lead the train on the outside line. He wants to go for the race lead, and Victor Bartlett knocked off the top step as the 81 starting to push to the front of this thing. And now, all of a sudden, Chris Henry goes from leader to pusher with 13 laps to go now on the outside line. And he has got, as well as guys like Austin Trombley, Hunter Parsons still looking to work with him as well. You got about 6 cars total that are able to be linked up at the moment on the outside line, but they need to get just a little bit closer. Still neck and neck, and it's a dead heat down the back straightaway. Peacock thinking about trying to jump back down low, but just no room to make it stick.
No room indeed, and I tell you what's helping Bartlett out right now in that 25 car is the fact that those guys up top still are having a hard time linking up with each other, as they call it. Wow, that was awful close, that side drafting. That was the 81 of Peacock trying to side draft that 25. Maybe break up just a little bit. They have to look too much room here. I tell you what, going back to this turn right here, 3 and 2. Sorry, 3 2, 1 and 2. It's really interesting to see how well Bartlett's getting pushed by that damaged truck behind him, that 29 truck. Soccer.
This time, Peacock pushing the nose ahead all the way up to the left rear quarter panel, but that is not enough. And Victor Bartlett will continue to push ahead through 3 and 4. The outside line needs to get just a little bit more momentum to make anything happen. And so far, that is momentum they are just struggling to find time and time again. 11 laps left to go in round number 5 of the North American Sim Racing Association. I tell you what, this is the first time we've been seeing this series as a super speedway series. It was just freshly reconverted over from its next gen series just a week ago, and I have been very, very impressed with what I've seen so far. We've seen some very solid racing, and the racing has been competitive, it's been hard, it's been aggressive, and been exciting right through to the end as well. And we are in for one barnstormer of a finish, I'd imagine. Peacock clear for the lead, and jumps down in front of Bartlett.
Jumps down in front of Bartlett, leaving Cinnamon up high and dry to fend for himself. And I'll tell you what, Bartlett didn't want to see that. That strong car of Peacock out front now. Peacock with no damage at all. And if I'm not mistaken, aren't he and Carson's teammates?
And catching more lap traffic with 10 to go. It's just a single car, though, so shouldn't have too many problems. James Morris only running at 155 miles an hour, which is about 25 to 30 miles an hour slower than these guys out here. Everybody's getting all sorts of squirrely though as they catch the lap traffic, and Chris Simmons just able to snake through 3 wide as Bartlett had to back off to avoid turning Taylor Peacock on the inside line. And now Morris is struggling to let cars through on the outside line. Check, that's under Parsons trying to open up a 3rd lane, 3 wide, top side, and not going to happen. The 05 has to tuck back in line. Trumbley starting to weave around. He's getting a bit antsy. Bartlett onto the yellow line as well. And thanks to a break from Nicholas Sacco, is let back up in the line.
And Cinnamon down the inside. He finally clears 81 of Peacock. Takes that lead, pushes himself back down there. And then he's Trumbley up high with Parsons on his 6th. They got a 3rd car up there with him. Like 2 more back there trying to catch up to him. Oh my goodness, look at that momentum that Trumbley's going to carry out of 1. Give him the lead for right now. I don't know how much longer it's going to last. It doesn't come down, though. Stays up high. He's got a 3 down low of Cinnamon with, looks like teammates in 3rd and 4th right there. I'm pretty sure they're teammates. They got the same paint job.
Coming to 8 laps to go, it's starting to all kick off. Like I mentioned earlier on, as soon as it hits 10 to go, that is when everything kicks into high gear, and all of a sudden everybody starts to go, go, go all at the same time. Because of all these guys further in the back that have been working to just claw their way back up and play and save, now trying to make up moves and put themselves in a position where they could potentially get a solid race win. So as we enter the final 10th of this race, at this point in this league grouping, it's realistically anybody's game at the time being, but if I'm anyone at the moment, I want to be the guys leading that outside row.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know, man. I'd want to be the guy down on the inside, because we've seen that unless that outside row has all their ducks in a row and are completely committed to pushing each other, they can't make a pass cleanly. They can't complete that pass cleanly. So I don't know, man. I think I'd want to be down on the inside. We're going to find out here in about 7 laps going. As looks like Parsons want to try to make it 3 wide again.
Oh boy!
See if he gets any help up there. He does. They're going to shuffle the 1-car Trumbley down the middle by himself.
Oh, and Trumbley trying to tuck in line. Putting the 29 onto the apron. Nicholas Sacco having a huge slide. He manages to keep with it, and that's going to force Trumbley back up onto the outside line. He's going to link up with Victor Bartlett and jumps to the top side, trying to have a run down for turn number 3. Bartlett wants to get back up in front of this thing as Chris Cinnamon cleared on the bottom, and took the race lead away. Almost 3 wide again with Taylor Peacock trying to make a move. And now Bartlett clear for the race lead. I think trying to pull Trumbull around with them, though, through the tri-oval. And they are both. Oh, look out! The 25 is hooked in the middle of the track. And Bartlett's going to be taken out mid-pack with 6 laps to go. They both tried to go to the inside. And Bartlett paid the price.
Wow, that was a huge hit, too, right on his nose of the truck. That's going to wipe out his chances that he win, I do believe, because he just used his fast repair earlier. Man, that was some insane racing right there. We knew it was just a matter of time, Nolan. Here we go with the pulse bumpers. This replay.
Watch this here as tries to push him onto the bottom lane and just hooks him as he comes down as well. And the 25 caught air, nearly getting turned around. Somehow, that was not a big one. So, oh, well, there's a bit of a hit right after the fact. So about 4 trucks collected total in that one. Great heads-up drive by everyone else in the field, being able to get around that with no problems.
And that's going to put us into our first green-white checker tip. I'm not entirely sure how many they have, Nolan. It's not really mentioned in the race notes that I got. So we'll find out for you real quick, folks. But, man, Nolan, we knew that was going to happen, man. This is the time to go, like you said, and the aggression pumps up 200%. You got guys up front that just are not happy being behind somebody. That's all that was just a racing deal, really. It was a bad tap at a bad spot in the track, and unfortunately it wiped out a bunch of fast cars, and it's going to leave us with a green-white checkered and Trombley in that doggone Chick-fil-A truck up front, making me hungry still. You got 3 cars, Cinnamon behind him, Parsons, Sacco, and Zimmerman around that top 5. What do you think, Nolan? Will we see a finish, or are we going to see another wreck?
Well, they've been able to make it a 2-lap sprint very consistently from what we've seen so far, so I am very confident that we'll be able to make it to the end of the race from here. I'm honestly not totally convinced we're going into overtime. I think we might just finish this under regulation time, but that means we would have to be 2 to green as of right now and 1 to green next time by. So the possibility is still there as Sacco and Wade both come down to pit road this next time by, and a lot of the guys are wanting to stay out this time around, but you see quite a few guys already in pit road being collected at incidents earlier on. There you can see one Tory Thompson taking the lucky dog. That will put him 1 lap down. I think that is a very important thing to know, right? As so far, we haven't seen a lot of people being able to get lucky dogs yet due to the fact that a majority of these cautions, the guy that would have gotten that lucky dog has ended up in the wreck.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
So this could be very, very crucial here. If we're 2 to green this time around, which would be 1 to green when they hit start finish, which I believe they already are, because the cautions, of course, iRacing has shortened how long they are in recent updates. The possibility for us to go green in regulation time is still there, which means we're going to, well, it'll still be a green-white checker. It's not overtime, right? It's a natural green-white checker. You go green with 2 to go, and then you finish the race on the lap it was scheduled to finish on. Will. Yes, exactly. It's an organic GWC. And honestly, those are almost better because it's almost like you get a freebie, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, yeah, who doesn't like freebies? I'd like some free Chick-fil-A right now.
I bet you would.
I'm sorry, Nolan. I'm a big dude. I don't know if you've ever seen me, but I like to eat. And I like to eat chicken. And I like to eat Chick-fil-A. So I'm struggling over here, buddy. All I've had today to eat was yogurt because my wife tells me I got to lose weight.
There it is, 1 to green. We're green this next time by, and it'll be a nat green-white checkered. Now, my question for you, John, is do we know how many green-white checkered attempts that they offer? Is it just 1, like iRacing does, or is it a more traditional 3?
I'm not entirely sure. We've sent the feeler out, but we haven't got any information back on that yet.
So 1 lap green this time by. It'll be 2 to go. And here's even bigger kicker of a question for you. Who's your pick to win?
I got to go with the 3. No, got to go with the 3. You'd think the Chick-fil-A. You're right there, Cody, down in the van, but no. I've always got a soft spot in my heart for that Tasmanian Devil 3-car paint job. I don't care what vehicle it's on. I love it. It's just, I don't know what it is, man. And I wasn't like a great big Dale Earnhardt Sr. fan. I was a fan. I liked his, I liked to watch him when he was still alive. That's how long I've been around. But there's something about that paint scheme. I've always loved it.
I honestly think Zimmerman is in one of the best possible positions to be able to go and get himself a race win at the end of tonight. I mean, he's second place on the outside row, which means if he wants to, he can open up that outside lane at any point and just power through to take a win away. I've seen it done before, even recently. We're talking even 3 days ago I saw that sort of thing happen. So this could be very, very critical here, especially if this goes green under regulation time. As we get set to go, back, green flag racing, put it in the hands of Austin Trumbley this time around. Green flag racing for what could be the final time tonight with 2 laps to go from Daytona.
2 laps to go from Daytona. That outside line leader of Cinnamon wiggled just a little bit on the start. Not sure if his tires are good or what. That's going to let those 2 front guys get nose to tail. He is all by himself over there as Zimmerman in the 94 ducks down to the inside, leaves him hanging high and dry. Oh, that's not good for the 3 cars' chances right there, Nolan.
Oh, they're wrecking back straight away. Caution flies. That is going to be our first attempt at a green-white checkered. Christopher Blanchard is going around on the back straightaway. The number 19 was the main one collected. I think got into it with Rhett Tucker as well. It's Justin Lumpkin on the outside line. Once again, going to the Bull Poppers replay. This will be attempt 1 of 2. So 2 green-white checkered attempts is what they offer for us here tonight. Thought they'd be able to make it back, and Blanchard just got too aggressive trying to side draft with Rhett Tucker. We'll take a look at this one here, back straightaway, and right there, just looks at the 99, but all the damage was done to himself. We can talk about some instant karma.
Yeah, pretty much, man. Unfortunately, that's going to affect everybody else on track, bring us out, as you said, to our first green-white checker attempt. And I'm sorry, producer Cody, I didn't hear you and how many you said we have.
It's going to be 2 green-white checkers, John, on the night for us here tonight. So there will be, well, technically, if you count our natural one, 3 total, but officially, just 2 attempts at a GWC. So let's reset the top order for you. Trumbley, first place. Then it's Parsons, Zimmerman, Cinnamon, Roge, Meza, Sickles, Tucker, Sacco, and Gregory for the top 10. Those, I would imagine, are the 10 more likely candidates for a race win. Now, we just saw that this wreck came from a little bit further back in the midfield, right? And now, here's a bit of an even bigger question for you at the time being, John. Usually, last lap crashes happen when it comes to super speedway racing on iRacing. Everybody's used to them. Everybody expects them, right? Do you think this wreck, though, is going to be coming with the leaders or from somebody further back in the field, and the leaders will have no pressure to duke it out for themselves?
I'm going to say somewhere in the top 5. It's going to start somewhere in the top 5.
That's usually a pretty safe bet. That is by far the most common place for a wreck to come when it comes to these green-white checkered types of scenarios. One driver this does help out, Tory Thompson in the number 21. You can see him taking his lucky dog, this time by outside line. That puts 15 total cars now on the lead lap as Thompson gets himself cycled back around. So we are going to be finding ourselves now with a total of 15 cars on the lead lap by the end of this race at the very most. Because Kilgore, he's 3 down. There's not enough attempts for him to get back on the lead lap. Not by a long shot.
No, not at all. There's that Chick-fil-A truck still out front. Hey, so Cody, since you're the producer, which means you've got all the money, if he wins, do we get Chick-fil-A gift certificates?
Well, there's your answer. You'll have to ask
Yeah.
Trumbley about that one, John.
Yeah. Where are you from, Nolan? You're up from the Canada area, right?
I am not from Europe. I am definitely from Canada.
Okay. So
Well, there's
I
your
almost said
second
a
answer.
a bad word. You almost said a bad word there. No, what I was going to ask you, Nolan, is do you guys have Chick-fil-A up there in the Great White North? Crickets? Maybe he's Googling it. Uh-oh. Nolan's VMX froze. Okay. Great, so I get to call the last 3 laps of this race by myself. Yay. All right, 1 to go, folks. Coming through backstretch now, stacked up. Give us a minute. Coming down through the backstretch here through 3 and 4. 1 to go. This is going to be a green-white checkered, folks. What that means is we're in overtime. And if these guys can get to the white flag, the race is over. If not, we have one more attempt at in this race under green. This has been around for a while, and it was a pretty popular decision. Through turns 3 and 4. Here we go, folks. It's going to be an outstanding finish to a race. Up front, we've got Trombley in the 1, Parsons 05, Zimmerman in the 94, Chris Cinnamon in the 3 car, and Nathan Roge in the 91. I didn't talk about Nathan too much tonight. He's kind of avoided all the mess and all the nastiness, and there goes the pace car off of the speedway on the pit road. Wait and watch these guys come on down to the green. As Barney gets ready to wave that green flag, it's in the air, and we've got a restart on our hands. On the outside, we've got the 05 of Hunter Parsons trying to eke his way out front.
Oh, no, Ricky!
Welcome back, Nolan. You're just in time to see the top
Didn't even
5
make
take
it to
each other
turn
out.
1.
Not even.
Apologies for the technical difficulties, folks. Didn't even make it to turn 1 this time, and it was Nathan Roge getting up into Raul Meza. That'll put us on our second green-white checkered attempt, which, of course, will mean that if we get another caution flag, race ends under the caution flag. So pace car, you can see down in there on the Bolt Poppers replay. And it'll be the blue turquoise car on the inside line, pushes up into the green one. And right there, just hooks him. I think that's pretty safe to say what happened there is Zimmerman just getting collected in there, taking out, I believe that was the 22 as well, of Jeffrey Sickles that got involved. Good gravy.
That didn't have to happen. That really did not have to happen. I believe there's a league rule. You got to hold your line until you cross the start-finish line. And he barely made it past the cross-finish line before he made that move right there. Way too aggressive, I think. That's just my personal opinion. But it does put us back under caution. We get one more chance at this, folks, to end this as a green flag race. And it still holds. If they get to a white flag after that, it doesn't matter. But if they have a wreck before the white flag comes out, this race will finish under caution, and they will score it as they stand when the caution comes out.
So second attempt at overtime, and it will be the last attempt at overtime. Another yellow flag ends the race under the caution period, and I have to say, John, I really, really hope this race goes green. It would be absolutely detrimental if it did not. I mean, it was just we ran into a super speedway series. The last thing you want is to have the first race end under the yellow flag, right?
That's true. Rogie.
Apologies, apparently, to Nathan
mispronounced
Roge.
name.
We thought it was Nathan Roge. Well, we've just been informed it is actually Nathan Roge. So sometimes you pronounce the name
Rhymes
how
with
it's
hoagie.
spelled. You don't get
My
that
mind
too
is on
often,
food
do you?
tonight.
So apologies to Nathan on our end for that one. That shouldn't be a problem in the future. So Nathan Roge is now going to be your official name and pronunciation now for that number 91 Chevrolet Silverado. So this could be potentially a barnstormer of a finish, but it could be a much more lackluster finish if this finishes under the yellow flag as well. Just checking in on how everything's looking for the time being, and you've only got 13 out of the 27 cars that started this race on track, right? Let alone on the lead lap. I should say that they all are all on the lead lap, which is a bit convenient for us on that department. But you have to, I think, wonder if this makes us more or less likely to have a caution again to end this race.
Right now, race control is talking to these guys, telling us to take a big, deep breath, calm down, and use their thinking heads. That's good advice because, you know, nobody wants to see this thing, like you said, finish under caution. Bad news for that 05 car up front is his teammate is not going to be up there with him. He was involved in this accident, 81 of Taylor Peacock. So he's going to be all by himself fending off the 3 car, the 1 car. Those guys have been strong in the 3 and the 1 truck. They've been real strong so far. But, you know, it's at this point in the race where you really want somebody to help you either take the lead or keep the lead. So, you know, he's got to be nervous, I think. Nolan, what do you think?
I have to agree more. I mean, there's no place where you're more unsafe than at the super speedway in the front on the last lap. It's got to be one of those unsafe places you could be on the iRacing service, and it could be that this all comes to fruition. I mean, at the moment, we're thinking it might be guys within the top 5 that have the best chance at getting the win here. But very quickly, if whatever happens on this last lap, that can turn right into being the bottom 5 on the lead lap if the top 5 all take each other out.
Which is highly possible, as we've seen with that last caution. That was the 4th and 5th place vehicles getting into it right there. Well, here we go, bud. 1 to go. Lights are off. The pace car stacked up 2 by 2. You got the 05. Parsons down there on the inside. You got Cinnamon on the outside behind. Parsons got Trombley in that Chick-fil-A truck. And then to his outside, it's going to be the 62. 67? Yeah. No. The 91 of Nathan Rogie. Just has a different car number. Okay.
You can...
Because that's not confusing at all.
Well, as the field comes around through 3 and 4, we will find ourselves in a very tight battle for the race win here. It is the final attempt at a green-white checkered. If a caution comes out, it will end under caution. Just 1 lap where they have to make it good to green before they have the ability to kick it all loose. Green flags back in the air for the final time tonight here from the Daytona International Speedway. Parsons gets away well, and it looks like that outside line, though, already trying to make a charge with just 2 drivers on the outside.
2 drivers on the outside might be all it takes right here. They're strong drivers. You got Cinnamon on the outside. You've got Rogie right behind him. But those 3 cars downside are steadily pulling away. Parsons maintains his lead now. He's clear of Cinnamon on the outside. Trombley is just about clear. Looks like he's going to clear him as they go into turn 3 right here, possibly. They're trying to fight back on the outside, Nolan, but they're not making any headway out there.
Just about 2.5 miles left to go. They just have to make it a little bit further. Look out for Cinnamon trying to pinch in Trombley on the inside line as they come out of turn number 4. Just have to make it about 100 more feet, and they are going to make it to the white flag. This race will end under the green flags. 1 driver did get spun on the restart, but there was no caution for it. And just want to mention that it was Justin Lumpkin deep in the field into the grass. No contact with anybody else, just that single car spin. So it's a 6-horse race up in front for the race win at Daytona International Speedway's Hunter Parsons currently heads the way from the bottom side. You got Chris Cinnamon being shoved by Rogie on the outside. And don't discount Austin Trumbull if he tries something desperate coming out of turn number 4. Cinnamon pulls alongside of the entry of 3. They're all going to get stacked up close together. They're all going to wreck. And Cinnamon's into the outside wall. That leads to a 3-horse race down to turn number 4. Does Trombley have enough speed to get up to the line? Trying to set him a run, but it's not going to be enough. And Hunter Parsons will win here from Daytona. My
goodness, what an amazing finish this race. I didn't see that coming. I really, really did not see that coming.
And Nathan Rogie with a huge wreck out of turn 4 went flying through the air, and that will help to secure a solid win for Hunter Parsons, who comes home to take a beautiful race win. And I think he has got to give Trombley a beer after this one for not wanting to apply the pressure to the point where he found himself being in a position where he would get into the overtake. Trombley cut him a huge break, and that helped to secure Hunter Parsons with a race win. And well, it looks like we have lost John Watson Jr. for the time being, so we'll go straight ahead to the race results, and it is going to be none other than Hunter Parsons up in the victory circle, with Austin Trombley down in second place. Nicholas Sacco is in third place, rounding the podium. We'll talk to those drivers in just a moment, with Raul Meza 2.1 seconds back in fourth, Christopher Blanchard in fifth, Ted Wade is in sixth, with Eric Zimmerman in seventh, Tory Thompson is eighth, Brandon Bullock is ninth, Stephen Gregory rounds out your top 10. It's Rhett Tucker down in P number 11, with Chris Cinnamon in 12th. Sorry, Justin Lumpkin down in 12th place, so he got spun with 2 to go. Chris Cinnamon is 13th, with Jeffrey Sickles 14th, last car on the lead lap. Nathan Rose 1 down in 15th place, and we're now into drivers that did not finish this race. That includes the likes of Derek Kilgore, Adam Newber, Tyler Peacock, Victor Bartlett, and James Morris to round out the top 20. Finishing out your field is going to be Steve Tucker, Darren Halleman, Cody Knott, J.R. Miller, Zachary Hartwick, Andrew McGronigle, Ian Martin, and Michael McKinnon to round out tonight's 28-car field. What a solid race here tonight from Daytona for the North American Sim Racing Association. Still waiting on a couple of the drivers to give us a bit of a talk, and I believe we'll be getting a few of those drivers up here in just short order, starting it off with one Hunter Parsons, who will be standing by with us in just a brief moment. It's been a solid run for all of these guys, though, tonight. I mean, just non-stop action from start to finish. So we will take a quick break here, and we'll be back in just a few moments with your top 3. Don't go away. Post-race show on LSRTV coming on up in just a few minutes. Welcome back to LSRTV and the North American Sim Racing Association, where we just witnessed an absolutely wild finish from the Daytona International Speedway. And I'm standing by with the one that came out on top from all of that, Hunter Parsons, joining us up now in the broadcast booth. Now, Hunter, you managed to get yourself on victory lane. I think Austin Trumbley had a bit of a helping hand in that one, thanks to him backing off out of turn 4. But as you watched everybody starting to wreck in your mirror out of 3 and 4, what was going through your head?
Yeah, I don't really know what was going on through 3 and 4. It felt like I hit the apron and came up, and then I went back and watched it, and it just looked like massive netcode between all 4 of us. And fortunately enough, it saved me and Austin out of it and kind of just hurt the outside row.
And of course, with all of this said and done, it is by far the last race we'll be having at a plate track like this, where you'll be able to put that car back in more victory lanes. With the reconfiguration to a super speedway series, it's really going to be the only type of scene we're going to get used to seeing from here on out. Do you plan to have any more finishes similar to this one in the series before the season's end?
Yeah, I sure hope so. I do find myself being able to stride a little bit on the super speedways, being able to be patient and just kind of planning out the right fuel. I was hoping we were going to do that green flag pit stop towards the end, just to kind of separate it out a little bit. But I definitely hope to keep it going throughout this little series that they're putting on.
And before I let you go then, Hunter, anybody you'd like to shout out for that 05 machine?
Yeah, first off, everyone at the Straight Cash Money. We had a field of 4 running tonight. Mike and Brady for putting on this series, having the next gen fall through, you guys for broadcasting, and just everyone who has a part in doing all this.
Thank you, Hunter, for taking the brief moment to join us up here in the broadcast booth. Congratulations on a race victory, and best of luck when we go racing again next week.
Thank you.
That'll bring us to, well, we can't get a hold of Austin Trumbley, unfortunately, not able to join us here today, but we do have the number 29 Silverado driven by Nicholas Sacco, who put himself 3rd place on the boards. And Sacco, unlike Parsons, who started in the top 10 and finished there, you didn't set a qualifying lap. Started 17th, moved up 14th, and then you now finished 3rd place on the podium. So what was it like for you moving your way up through the field to finish so far up the grid?
It was kind of just dodging wrecks, I feel like. I felt like that was kind of the name of the game if you were going to start in the back there. So I was just kind of waiting it out, kind of seeing if a lot of guys went through their fast repair. I was just waiting on mine. I ended up getting caught up in like 3 different wrecks. So I waited till the end to use a fast repair there, and I just didn't have enough time to get all the way up there. But I felt like it was probably the good decision to save it.
You talked about how dodging wrecks seemed to be the name of the game tonight, and for you, that was a bit more true than for some of the others. There were quite a few wrecks over the course of the night. Do you think that'll also be the name of the game for the races going forward?
Yeah, I mean, as long as you have a fast repair, I mean, we all definitely need it. You know, when you're putting money on the line, you kind of want it, but then at the same time, it opens up the door for a lot of different type of racing like that. So I think you just got to be patient and hope everyone wrecks and just hope that you're there at the end.
Well, fingers crossed then that you'll be able to continue to dodge the wrecks like that and put that car back on the podium again in just 1 week's time and potentially up in victory lane as well. Before we let you go, though, Nick, anybody you'd like to shout out for that number 29?
Yeah, Organic Tick Repellent is what I'm running tonight. They're a new company in my area in East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. So Organic.com is where you can get it. It's all organic tick repellent. So check them out.
And thank you, Nick, for taking the time out of your night to join us up here in the booth. Congratulations on a solid 3rd place finish. Best of luck in 1 week.
Thank you, guys.
That was Nicholas Sacco joining us up here in the broadcast booth from 17th place. And, well, with John having some of the technical difficulties, that will be just about it from us then here at LSRTV. It has been a solid race tonight. A few more costs than I think a lot of people would like, but definitely a good start to this brand new Super Speedway series being reprofiled from the Next Gen series, and we look forward to seeing what it will provide for us in just a few moments' time. So from us up here in the broadcast booth, myself, Nola Rempel, with John Mustian Jr. and Cody Wooten behind the cameras,